Today I'm going to be showing you how to crochet Mr Bean's teddy. It's a pattern by Crocheting Birds over on Instagram, and I love that account. I'm going to have the written pattern linked below, and all the materials that I used today will also be linked below. I would say this is a beginner friendly pattern. You just need to know how to do single crochet, increase, decrease, and how to do chains. I will be posting weekly tutorials from now on, so let me know if there's anything that you would like me to show you how to make. You're going to need a needle, a 4.5mm hook, your stitch marker and some scissors. You're also going to need one set of 10mm safety eyes, 2 shades of brown yarn for the scrap black yarn. This is plush yarn, which I'll be using for the nose, and this is double knit yarn, which I will be using for the ear details. Lastly, you'll need some stuffing. So starting with our brown, we're going to make the head and body, and for round 1 we're going to chain 8. So we're going to make a slip knot. This is how I do it. There are so many different ways to do it. I actually do it the long way. And here's our slip knot, and then we're going to chain 8. So you're going to put it over your hook and pull through 8 times. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Here are our 8 chains, and we're going to go into the second chain from the hook. So obviously our hook is here. That is the first chain, and that's the second chain, and then we're going to do 6 single crochets back through the chains. So as I said, that was the first chain from the hook, and this is the second one. We're going to do a single crochet. So that's 1, and you want a total of 6. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So here's how it should be looking. You should have 1 more chain left right at the end, and we're going to do 3 single crochets into that last one, and this will get you to turn your project. So this is 2 and 3. As you can see, naturally the project's gone onto the opposite side. Then we're going to do 5 single crochets on the other side of that chain. So I usually grab my hook like this and turn it around so I can kind of tug on that loop, and you don't pick up all the stitches then. So this is 1. Here is 2. As you can see, when you do it like this, it kind of just separates the loop by itself. 3, 4, and 5. Then in this last stitch, we're going to do an increase. So an increase is 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. So that is 1, and then back into that same stitch, we do a second one. And you should be back to the start now. So now we're going to be working on round 2, and we will be using a stitch marker. So we're going to start off with an increase, and you're going to go into that next stitch there where there's both loops. There should be a little gap, so you should be able to tell. And we're going to do an increase here. So that is 1 single crochet. Put in our stitch marker. Second single crochet in the same stitch, and that is 1 increase. Then we're going to do, in the next 5 stitches, we're going to do single crochets. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then over the next 3 stitches, we're going to do increases. So 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. So that is 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and this is the last increase. Oops. Then we will be doing 5 single crochets. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we should have just 2 stitches left, and we're going to increase in both of those. So that is 1, 2, and 1, 2, and you should be right back to the start. So then for round 3, we're just going to single crochet all the way around, single crochets in each stitch. So we're going to put our stitch marker back in. That was 1, and you should have 22 single crochets as you get back to the start. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. Perfect. So it should be this shape now, and you can just pop it inside out so that it's the correct way, and you can start to see the head forming. And then we're going to do 9 single crochets. So we're going to do our first one and put our stitch marker back in. I'm going to speed this up a little bit because now you've got the hang of it. So I'm going to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Then in the next stitch we're going to do a decrease, and I do an invisible decrease, which is in the front loops only. So you're going to pull up that front loop, pull up a loop into the front loop of the next stitch, pull up a loop, and then we're going to go through all of the loops on your hook. Then we're going to do 9 single crochets again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then we're going to do a decrease again. So in that front loop, in the front loop, and through both. So now we're on round 5, and we're going to do 4 single crochets. So that was 1, put our stitch marker back in, 2, 3, and 4. Then we do a decrease. Then we're going to do 8 single crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we're going to do another decrease. And then we're going to do 4 last single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we are on round 6, and we're going to do 7 single crochets. Put our stitch marker back in. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then we're going to do a decrease. Then we're going to go again and do 7 single crochets. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Then a decrease. On to round 7 now, and we're going to do 3 single crochets. So that was 1, put our stitch marker back in, 2, 3. Then I'm going to do a decrease. I'm going to do 6 single crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then we will do a decrease again. Oops, decrease again. And 3 single crochets until the end of the row. And here you can see his little head forming. So now we're on round 8, and we're going to do 5 single crochets. So that's 1, put our stitch marker in, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we do a decrease, and we're going to repeat that and do 5 more single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and decrease. Moving on to round 9, we're going to do 2 single crochets. So put our first one in, put that stitch marker in, and that's the second single crochet. Then we're going to decrease. Make sure you pull up those front loops. If it's too difficult, you can go through both and just do a regular decrease. Then we do 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another decrease. And then 2 single crochets. 1 and 2. On to round 10. We're going to do 3 single crochets. 1. Insert that stitch marker. 2 and 3. Decrease. And repeat 3 more single crochets and then decrease. 1, 2, 3, and decrease. So now we're going to be moving on to the body. This is all one piece, so you won't have to fasten this off. We're on round 11 now. So you're going to do 3 single crochets. So put our first one in. Put that stitch marker in. That is 2 and 3. Then you're going to do an increase. So that's 1 and 2 stitches in the same place. And we're going to repeat that again. 3 single crochets and then an increase. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then an increase in this last stitch. 2 single crochets in one place. On to round 12, we're going to do 2 single crochets. So do that first one, put your stitch marker in. This is 2. Then we're going to increase in the next. Then we're going to do 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to increase again. 2 in the same stitch. And then 2 single crochets. 1 and 2. So moving on to round 13. This is going to be 5 single crochets and then an increase, and then we'll repeat it again. So that was our first stitch. I'm going to do 5. So this is 2, 3, 4, 5. Increase in the next. 2 in the same stitch. And then 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and increase in that last stitch. On to round 14, we're going to do 3 single crochets. So do the first one, insert the stitch marker, and this is 2, then 3, then we will do an increase. Then we're going to do 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Increase in the, got tangled on my fingers. Increase in the next. Then 3 final single crochets here. 2, 3. Then for round 15, we're going to do 7 single crochets and then an increase. So we do our first one, put that stitch marker in. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we increase, and we're going to repeat that. 7 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, increase. Then 4 single crochets for round 16. So that is 1. Put our stitch marker back in. 2, 3, 4. Then an increase. Then we do 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then another increase. And a final 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. For round 17, we're going to do 9 single crochets. So that was the first one. Put our stitch marker in. You get the hang of it by now. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. We're going to increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch. 9 single crochets again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and an increase in that final stitch. On to round 18, we're going to start off with 5 single crochets. So that is 1. Put our stitch marker back in. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we increase in the next stitch. Then we do 10 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And we're going to increase in the next stitch. Then we're going to do 5 single crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Here's how it should be looking so far. We're almost at the end of the body. We're going to do 24 single crochets. So we're just going to crochet all the way around. So we've got our first one in, add our stitch marker, and this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. And you should be right back to the start. So what we're going to do now is we're going to leave a nice long tail because we're going to sew the bottom closed at the end. Pull that through if you're able to. If not, you can leave it with the loops in. It just depends on the yarn that you're using. And here is what it should look like. As you can see, that is the body. Next, we're going to be moving on to the arms, and I will be using this light brown to start off with. So we're going to do a magic ring with 6 single crochets in it. Here's how I do my magic ring. I'll do it very slowly. And that is how I do a magic ring. There are so many different ways to do it. I'm going to do 6 single crochets into that. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Pull that closed. Then we're going to do another 6 single crochets, in one in each stitch. So we put 1, add our stitch marker, and we're just going to single crochet around. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I know this is really tiny, so it's quite hard to see on camera. And then we're going to change to the dark brown to do the upper portion of the arm. So here's how I do my colour changes. I pull up a loop, get my second colour that I want to change it to, put that over on my loop, and just pull through 2. Your original colour, you want to pull it tight so it doesn't slip out. Then you can put your stitch marker on over there, because that's your first single crochet done. And we're going to do a single crochet in each stitch around again. So as you can see, this is inside out. I'm just going to pop it the right way around. I'm also going to cut this off, and I'm going to tie it to the middle piece that was part of my magic ring, just so no yarn starts spilling out. You can also tie it to this piece if you prefer, it doesn't really matter. And I just shove it in there and use it as stuffing. You can do this at the end as well if you have a really long tail and it's not going in. I'm just going to do that last stitch. But yeah. So now we're on round 4 again. We're going to just single crochet all the way around. Put our stitch marker in. You should just be doing 6 crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Round 5, we just repeat the exact same thing. We're going to do this all the way until round 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that is the round done. We're on to round 6 now. Single crochet all the way around again. And this is our last round. Round number 7. Then you're going to leave a nice long tail to sew. Pull this through if you can. Take off our stitch marker, and you are just going to repeat those 1 to 7 rounds that we just done for this arm and make the other arm. So you should now have your 2 arms. They should look the same. Now we're moving on to the legs, and we're going to do 6 single crochets into a magic ring again. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Pull that nice and tight. Then we're going to do 2 single crochets and then an increase. We'll do that 2 times round. So let's do the first stitch. Put our stitch marker in. And we'll do a second single crochet. Then we're going to do an increase in the next stitch. Then we do 2 single crochets again. So that's 1, and then 2, and then increase in that final stitch. So these increases will make the legs slightly larger than the arms. Then we're going to change to brown, same way that I showed you before. We'll pull up a loop, get our next colour, and pull through 2. Pull that one tight, add our stitch marker, and we're just going to do 8 single crochets around. This is round 3. So we're just going to single crochet in each stitch. So we're going to do the same thing for rounds 3 to round 7. So I've just turned it the right way around. I'm going to go into round 4 now. Add our add our stitch marker, sorry. And single crochet around. So I'm going to fasten this off because it's getting in the way. Exact same way that we did with the other one, with the arms. Just do a little double knot and tuck all those little pieces in. Onto the next round. And we're just going to do 8 single crochets around again. Now we're on to round 6. Put the stitch marker back in and continue to single crochet in each stitch. Whoa, what happened there? And one more round of single crochets. So this is round 7. And you should have 8 single crochets in this round. So now we're on the final round, which is round 8. We're going to do 1 single crochet, add our stitch marker in. I'm going to do a second single crochet, and then we're going to decrease. And we're going to repeat that, so 2 single crochets and then a decrease. Then we're going to fasten off with a nice long tail to sew it on with. Pull that through if you can. And once again, you're just going to watch that part back and you're going to make a second leg. So you should have 2 legs now that look short and chunky. Now we're going to be moving on to the ears, where we are going to chain 3. So again, we're going to make a slip knot. And then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Then in the second chain from your hook, we're going to do 2 single crochet. So that's the first chain. This is the second one. We're going to go into that one. Do 1 single crochet, and then in the next one, a second single crochet. Then we're going to chain 1 again. And then we're going to turn the project around. So the long bit should be on your, touching your right hand now. And then we're going to do an increase right here in that first stitch. So 2 single crochets into that same stitch. And then we're going to do a single crochet in the next one. And then we're going to chain 1 again. Turn it back over, so the long piece should be on the left again. Increase in that first stitch, so 2 single crochets in that first one. Oops. Then we're going to do a single crochet in the next one. And then again, we're going to increase in that final one. And if you can see, you've got that ear shape now. You can fasten this off with a nice long tail because you're going to sew it on. Pull that through. And then you're just going to make another one of these. So here's how you should be looking so far. So now it's time to assemble all the pieces. So you're going to get your 10mm safety eyes. And I put mine in between round 5 and 6. So we're going to find the first round. This is second round, third round, fourth round, fifth round, and sixth round. So I put it between here, so roughly in that dot right there. I would usually skip 2 stitches. So that's 1, that's 2, and then I put it in the third one there. This might be a bit difficult, but you're going to put the backs in through the little gap in the neck. So you just have to wiggle it around a bit, make sure it's nice and flat. Really, I should have done this earlier, but the pattern didn't say to put the eyes in and I wasn't thinking. Thing stopped recording, so hopefully I didn't miss too much. But I'm just putting in the second eye between round 5 and 6 if that got cut out. So there we go. Here's how it should be looking. It kind of looks a bit like an alien. So then we're going to get our stuffing, and you're just going to stuff the head. Because it's quite a flat piece, you don't need too much. I'm going to use my hook to just push it through. There we go. And we're going to just stuff the body as well. As I said, you kind of want it to be a bit flat, so you don't want to stuff it too much. But you do want it to hold its nice shape. So once you've got your stuffing, you're going to get your needle. And you're going to crochet, you're going to sew through both sides to close off the bottom. Give it a nice seamless edge. If you want it to be super secure, you can go back through it like this. I don't necessarily need to do it with this one, but just for video purposes. But if you are planning on selling it, I would say to do this, just to make sure it doesn't open up. And then you're going to do a final knot at the end. And then just pull through to the other side or through any random stitch. And here's how it should be looking. Then we're going to get the legs. You can stuff them. I prefer it when it's flat. I think it looks better. So if you can see where we did that color change, there's this little like gap thing. You want that to be on the back. So you want to sew the legs on like this so it's nice and neat on the front. So don't put it in the first stitch. You want to skip one and put it here. Then we're going to go back through the actual leg, and then we're just going to continue to attach it, and make sure you're going through both sides when you're sewing the legs on. I've just gone back through the same stitch because it was feeling a bit loose, but go through both sides. And just sew the legs on nicely. And then again, if you want it to be super secure, you can go back through it. Doesn't hurt anyone, to make sure it's nice and safe. And again, we'll do that little knot that we always do. And then go pull up and go through a random stitch. And then you can fasten it off. Then we do the same for the other side. And do our final knot. And back through a random stitch. But yeah, because if you had it stuffed, it would basically just look a bit more round. But I kind of like how it looks when it's flat, like this. So we're going to do the same thing for the arms. You find where you did your color change and you want that to be on the bottom because you want the top to be nice and presentable. And right where the neck gets tiny, we're going to sew it right into there. And make sure you go through both sides of the arm. And again, if you are selling this and you're going to be, you know, UKCA CE testing it, I would say go through it 2 times, otherwise it just won't pass. It probably won't pass the test. Whereas when you go through it twice, it's strong enough to hold the weight. So I'm going to go back through this. Add the knot. Oops. And then back through a random stitch. And that is one arm on. Do the exact same thing for the other arm. Into that same round. You can literally see the line of where you need to sew it, because you put this one here, you want to put that one right there. I'm going to go back through both stitches. Oops. There we go. And again, we're going to double back on ourselves to make sure it's nice and safe. Do our knot. Go back through a random stitch. With things like the arms, the things that will get pulled on, I do like to join them together like this. So even if they get pulled, they've got an extra safety precaution. Then you just push it in. So then, because we've just squished it around a bit, you want to just reshape it a little bit. get rid of all these little fuzzies. Then we're going to get the ears, and we're going to be sewing them on this way. So the wide part is going to be at the top, the skinny part is going to be on the actual head. So you want to get the part that's connected to the top round. You want to get that piece, and you're going to basically weave in this end through by going in and out until you end up back into that first stitch there, like this. I'm going to find the corner of Teddy's head, and you're just going to do the exact same thing. You're going to go through that first stitch, since this was made with chains, you don't have to go through both sides because there is only one side to go through. And as I said before, we're just going to go back through the stitches we've already done. And then you're going to pull through to a random stitch, and then this piece that's hanging off, I'm going to do the same thing and just go back through into that same stitch. And we do the exact same thing for the other side. My cut out, I just realized, but I just sewed on the other side the exact same way I did the first side, and we're just going to add the little details now. So I'm just going to come in through the back. I'm going to make the little triangle on his ear. Then you want to come in through the middle. So you're going to make the bottom of that triangle now. Okay, there, I'm happy with that placement. Then you're going to go back through the second part that you put the needle in. And you go back through the one that you've just done. And back to the original. And there you go, he's got his little triangle in his ear. We're just going to tie this off at the back, and then we'll weave in the ends. That's one, and you're going to do the exact same thing for the other side. And then we've got the last bit, but I think is actually the most important, is his nose. So what I do is I go in through the side, and you want to go just below like his eye, so one stitch below the eye and straight through the middle of that stitch. And we're just gonna basically keep going over this little section until it looks like a little button, because I don't have any. And you can kind of just guide where the stitches go in to make sure it's keeping the correct shape. And I think that is good for me. Then you go back out of the stitch that you inserted the yarn in. Then I like to just pull it up a little bit. And we're going to tie this off nice and tight. Just make sure it's completely secure. Cut off your end and just push that in. Just make sure everything is shaped the way you want it. And here we have officially finished making Teddy. Make sure you tag the original creator. I'm going to have all the accounts and everything that I've used below. And yes, thank you so much for watching.